But yeah, within a few months, everything started to change. Um, I think the first thing I started noticing was like when I wake up in the mornings, I just didn't feel well. Like I had nausea that would kind of stick around throughout the day. If I ate certain foods or like drank alcohol, it would get worse. Sometimes I'd even be like throwing up. I started to get this pain in my right side. It could have been related to my liver or gallbladder. I'm honestly still not entirely sure at this point. But it was that, and then I started to get heart palpitations, especially when I was wearing my binder. So yeah, it was the health side effects. It was the nausea and the heart stuff, and it was really scary with the heart stuff because I'd be in public, I'd be wearing my binder, and so even when I was on testosterone, I did not pass as a man. Like a lot of times people would be like unsure of my gender. They'd be kind of like staring at me and looking at me like, is that a boy or a girl? But it was never like 100% pass as a man. So I was nervous to go in either bathroom, but I just felt like I needed to like get my binder off. But then I was like scared to go in the bathroom, and so I'd just be sort of like standing there feeling like I was dying. It was summer as well, so it was like the heat was like beating down on me, and anyway, it was just really bad. But even given the health side effects I was experiencing, I was not ready to stop because I was just like, you know what, this is I've tried being happy as a woman for so long, and it's just it doesn't work. So yeah, that was what I was feeling when I was having all these health side effects, but I thought the alternative was worse and I didn't know of any other options. So I pushed on for a couple more months, but kind of the last straw for me is um so I'd done my dose of testosterone, and basically I would inject it once a week. And so I did my injection, and I think the night before I was practicing some vocal stuff. I was singing, and like 2 days later, I tried to sing the exact same song, and I opened my mouth to sing it, and just air and squeaks came out when I tried. And just the whole quality of my voice was destroyed. Like it was raspy, it was hoarse, it was cracking, and like yeah, I was aware that my voice would change, but not to the extent that it had. And it was it not only sounded unattractive, but it was painful as well. Like it was becoming more and more painful to speak and sing. And singing is my major form of artistic and creative expression. And when that happened, it was way harder than I thought it would be. It was just devastating to not be able to sing. And it just hit me like, wow, this is permanent. Like I'm never going to get the same voice back that I had. And I just started thinking like, oh my God, what have I done? And so that really was the catalyst for me deciding to detransition, was losing my voice.
Because
And
you were losing more than just your gender identity. You were losing a part of yourself, a gifting,
yeah,
something that's a gift given to you to express your soul, and not being able to use that on top of these other things. Because there are consequences to the decisions we make. That must have been a horrible process for you to be in.
it was. And a lot of people, tell me they're like, well, didn't you know your voice would change? Like, wow, you're so stupid to like take testosterone. Like, I mean, it's just the narrative really shifts, right? Like when you're trans and you're like, I want to take testosterone, you have like all these people cheering you on. And then when you say, hey, this isn't working for me, like I'm actually really devastated to have lost my singing voice. They just basically turn around and blame it on you, and say like, oh, you should have known better. But my doctor told me my voice would deepen, but they didn't tell me it would be painful every day to speak and sing. And I also learned that there are some particular effects on the female singing voice from taking testosterone. It's not the same thing as a male would experience because I was an adult female. I was not a adolescent boy going through puberty, and the anatomical changes that happen are different. It's different in a female body. And so anyway, yeah, I realized that my gender and it's not even that, it's not even a choice of like, oh, being a man would be better than being able to sing. Like, it's because I never would have been a man. Like, it's impossible for humans to change sex. And I never wanted to be a trans man. Like, I never wanted to be a 5'2" man with a vagina. Like, I wanted to be a biological man, and that would have never been possible for me. So it was like I was trading my singing voice for this impossible dream. Um, and once I realized that, I was like, yeah, I can't do this to myself anymore. For the next 6 months, I still didn't acknowledge that I was female. Like I didn't go back to living as a woman right away because I still had gender dysphoria. I was still really uncomfortable with that. So I called myself non-binary for about 6 months, and I still sort of, I still believed in the ideology. I wasn't completely deprogrammed yet. So it took me a few months to sort of deprogram from that, but I was just kind of like, okay, I can't keep taking testosterone. I had top surgery, a double mastectomy scheduled as well. I've been talking to a surgeon about that, and I canceled with him. I canceled my legal name change. I already had paperwork turned in for that. So I pretty much, like, after the first physical changes were just so devastating, I was like, maybe it's just a bad idea to make any other rash decisions right now.
You had support, your friends were saying you were so brave, and then you decided to detransition. And what happened to all those people that encouraged you in that path? And you said, I don't feel comfortable. How has this woke community responded to you as you've decided this is just not the best decision for my life?
There were sort of two camps of the woke people, and so this was during the pandemic, during the lockdowns specifically. So my social life and real life had diminished somewhat. Like, I wasn't going out as much, but I did have several trans friends in real life. Um, but more, I was very involved with the community online, especially on TikTok. I had made an account for my music, but I'd been connecting with other trans people on there and just really become a part of that community. So there were kind of two camps of people and how they responded to my detransition. The first was, well, sorry, I'll say three actually, but the first was just outright rejection and hate, like from the get-go, just like, shut up, don't talk about your experience. You don't deserve a voice. You're just a cis person. Nothing you have to say is of value. So just shut up. You're harming the trans community. Um, so that was one group. The second group was more support with a caveat, right? So they were like, oh yeah, you're valid. That's perfectly fine that you've detransitioned. However, you better not say these things. You better not become a TERF. Like, I think the first thing I said that people kind of, or one of the first things I said that people
The
pushed back
acronym,
on.
can you describe what the acronym TERF is? Because
Oh, yes, yes. So it stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist, which is essentially a feminist who doesn't count trans women as part of her feminism. So I mean, yes, I am a TERF. I think that feminism is a movement for biological females, and you know, being female is a unique biological state. It is, you know, I don't think it's possible for a biological male to know what it's like to be a woman. And that doesn't mean that I don't think both men and women have, you know, uh, unique struggles, but it's just, I think we deserve a movement for biological females, and that's what feminism has always fought for. So, um, but anyway, these weren't always this wasn't always the way I viewed it. So when I was getting called a TERF just for talking about like detransitioning, it was just like, okay, this is weird. Um, but yeah, one of the things I said initially that a lot of people pushed back on was that I had suffered physical damage because of transitioning. I think I said testosterone damaged my voice or something like that, which is objectively true. Like, it's been extremely hard to recover from the vocal damage as a singer, and just as, just a regular person trying to socialize with other people. Like I was in so much pain because of what testosterone did to my voice. But people really push back on that narrative, and they're like, oh, cross-sex hormones or testosterone doesn't damage your body. That's turf language. That's transphobic. And so they're basically like, we'll support you if you, fit into this specific narrative. But otherwise, like, no, you're not allowed to tell your experience. You're not allowed to speak. And then finally, there are a few people who, are trans identified who do still support me, and they think I have the right to the opinions that I have. And the thing is that I actually harbor no negative feelings towards anyone who identifies as trans. In fact, I relate to them in a lot of ways, and I really just I want the best for them. I want the best medical care for them. I want the best psychological care. I don't want them to make decisions based on false information like I did. So, that's really where I'm coming from. It's coming from love. It's not coming from hatred or bias or anything like that. And it just for some people to see me like that, initially it really hurt. Now I don't really care because I just know they're wrong.